So once we've created a site in the screening module, you can see here that we have a survey unit that's been auto-populated into our site boundary. And this survey unit is the starting point for a splitting operation that allows us to carve this site up into smaller survey units that have relatively homogeneous land cover types. So here we can see that we have a large building up against the edge of the survey unit, and that'll be the start for our split. In order to split a survey unit, this large area, we first have to select that survey unit by clicking on it. In the bottom right corner, you'll see a pencil icon, and the pencil icon has a series of different tools that can be used to reconfigure or split up survey units. In this case, we're going to use the Split Survey Unit tool to split this survey unit, and that again gives us this cursor like we saw when we created the site to begin with. In order to split a survey unit, the survey unit must first be selected, which we've already done, and you must start outside of the survey unit, cut into the survey unit, and then end outside of the survey unit to make one solid cut through that survey unit and create two new survey units. So to do that, I'm going to start by clicking outside the survey unit here. I'm going to draw my way into the survey unit, click at that vertex. I'm going to draw my way to this corner of the building, click that vertex. This corner of the building, click that vertex. This corner of the building, click that vertex. And then I'm going to exit the survey unit and double click to close that split. Here you can see that we now have two different survey units, one for the building and the other for the rest of the site. Next, you can see that there are other land cover types within this site. We've got grassy areas up here, we've got parking areas down here, and we've got a couple of additional buildings. In order to carve those up, we're going to start off by carving out this grassy area here. And as we zoom in, you can see that the tiling for the base imagery has shifted a little bit. This is one reason that it's important to remain at a relatively constant scale when you are delineating a site. Otherwise, you may end up with changes in your base tiling. So next in this process, we're going to use the split tool again to carve up this larger area around the building. Here we can see that we have different land cover types making up the remainder of the site. Up here along the north edge, we have some sod, and so I'm going to select this survey unit. I'm going to use the Split Survey Unit tool. I am going to carve out this sod area at the top portion. We also have an area of sod right here, which I'm going to carve up as well. So I'm going to select this survey unit, use the split tool, start outside of the selected survey unit, carve my way over, and then I'm going to end inside the survey unit, and so that's going to give us an area that we're going to define as sod, another area we're going to define as sod, and the remainder of this space can really be separated out into two additional buildings and then parking space. So in order to carve out these two buildings, which are completely contained within another survey unit, we have to use a different tool than we've been using. We're no longer going to use the split tool. In this case, we're going to add a new survey unit. So over here on the left, you can see these survey units that we've carved up. There's a plus button right here, and that's going to allow us to add a new survey unit. When I select that plus button, it asks, what do you want to call the survey unit? I'm going to call it small building 1. And under the type drop down, I'm going to select building. Now I'm going to use this plus button right here to select the corner of the building, and I'm just going to delineate it. So now when I double click, it'll close that building polygon. It'll tell me over here a new survey unit will be created by cutting a hole in the existing survey unit. When I click save on that, it's going to carve this new survey unit out from the existing larger survey unit. You can see that when we select the larger survey unit, there's a hole that now exists that wasn't there before. So we need to follow that same process for this second building. So I'm going to select larger survey unit. I'm going to add a new survey unit. And this one is going to be small building 2. We're going to go down here, scroll down to building and select that. Use the plus icon again to select the draw survey unit tool. I'm going to follow the corners of this building and then double click again. And that's going to create our second new survey unit for this building. Again, it's going to cut a hole in the existing survey unit, and when I hit save, you'll see that now, instead of having just one survey unit carved out for the building, we now have these two. We have sod, and then we have the overall parking area. So over on the left-hand side, we have a little bit of cleanup to do. We've got building 1 and building 2. We have survey unit 1111 here, which we're going to rename as large sod. Under the type, I'm going to search for sod, and I found it there. I'm going to remove this description because it's no longer the default survey unit that we had. And now I'm going to save this. And it's asking, do you want to change the name and save those changes? And I do. So now we have this sod area, which has been defined as large sod. We have this other additional sod area, which is going to be, we'll call this north sod. So, and I'm going to change it to sod. I'm going to get rid of the description because it's no longer the initial default. And I'm going to save this north sod area. On the left-hand side, we have this larger area, which we're going to call parking. We're going to change this to paved. We're again going to remove the description, and we'll hit save on that. So now we have this whole parking area which has been defined. And lastly, we have our starting building, which is going to be our large building. We're going to look up building, and then we're going to hit save. So now we've defined the entire site. We have this large parking area, we have these 3 buildings, we have this large sod area, and then we have this northern sod area. Based on that initial delineation, we can begin to run analyses on this site.